Some thoughts never let you go. A sentence from the past, a regret, a look you can't forget. They echo in silence. No matter how far you run, they wait. The mind circles back again and again. It's like the brain has its own secret archive, and it keeps pulling out the same files. In neuroscience, there's something called the default mode network. Think of it as the background hum of the brain. It switches on when we're not distracted, when we're not buried in work, not staring at screens, when we're simply alone with ourselves. That's when the brain drifts inward, like a tide retreating to reveal the ocean floor. Old conversations rise. A moment from years ago suddenly flashes. It feels random, but it isn't. The default mode network is like a curator of memory, a hidden librarian pulling old pages and scattering them across your mind. Sometimes it feels cruel, like it wants you to relive your worst moments, but it isn't punishment. It's function. This network is designed to stitch together identity to make sense of your story, and sense-making requires replaying. The mind runs and reruns fragments, testing new meanings. It replays pain because pain shaped you. It replays mistakes because mistakes define the lines you now walk on. And that's why some thoughts don't just pass, they loop, they echo, they mark us from the inside. Plato once compared memory to a surface that holds marks, something carved into being. Every experience, every word that cut too deep, every mistake that scarred us, they leave impressions. And even if time smooths the edges, the mark never vanishes. You can polish stone, but the grooves remain. Memory is not a drawer you can simply empty. It is the surface of your very being. And this is why the same scenes return again and again. Not because they're invited, but because they belong to the structure itself. They are not intruders. They are tenants of the architecture of who you are. To live is to be engraved. And even if you try to sand away the marks, they remain beneath. Quiet, hidden, but still there. Freud once suggested that what we repress is never gone. Push a memory down deep enough, and it only resurfaces in stranger ways, in dreams, in slips of the tongue, in the weight you feel with no clear source. The unconscious doesn't let go. It waits for cracks in your defenses. That's why certain memories, especially painful ones, don't fade. They disguise themselves and reappear when you least expect them. And then there is the strange truth, discovered later. We hold on more tightly to unfinished experiences than completed ones. This is known as the Zeigarnik Effect. The brain fixates on what was left hanging, a goodbye that never happened, a confrontation you never had, a goal that slipped away. Your mind replays these fragments as if it is desperate to close the loop, to finish the story. Think about it. We forget thousands of little events every day. What we ate last Tuesday, the face of a stranger on the subway, but the moment someone left you without explanation, the project you abandoned halfway, the friendship that ended without closure, these stay. They live on because the brain hates loose threads. It ties itself in knots, trying to finish what reality left undone. The past that had no ending refuses to rest. It demands attention until the circle is drawn shut. And yet, even beyond the layers of mind and brain, there is another truth. Some thoughts cling to us not because of neurons or repression, but because the heart itself is designed to hold weight until it learns how to release it. Pain, longing, regret, They become like shadows, reminding us of what we have yet to understand, what we have yet to surrender. The mind circles the same fragments because the soul is still seeking meaning within them. Until there is acceptance, the echoes remain. But maybe the mind doesn't repeat these fragments to torment us. Maybe it repeats them because they're unfinished lessons, like a teacher who won't leave until the lesson is understood. These recurring thoughts could be signposts, pointing us toward what needs to be healed, urging us to sit with what we'd rather avoid, and the way forward isn't to erase them, but to redirect them. When an old memory rises, meet it with action. Write it down so it no longer rots in silence. Walk until your body untangles what the mind cannot. Breathe slowly, letting the storm pass without running from it. Small practices, repeated often, begin to shift the grooves. Each time you respond differently, the memory loses a little of its grip. Another way is to reshape the memory's weight by giving it a new context. The same thought can feel like a curse or like a mentor, depending on the frame, place around it. A regret that once felt like failure can, with reflection, reveal itself as guidance. A painful ending can become the very proof that you survived. Slowly, the thought changes shape. It still returns, but it no longer dictates your mood, your choices, or your nights. It becomes part of the story you've already learned from, not the wound you still bleed from. This process takes patience. It takes gentleness with yourself. But over time, the echoes soften. They may never vanish entirely, but they stop screaming. They turn into whispers, and whispers can be lived with. Some thoughts, they never let you go. They wait in the silence. They echo in the dark. They rise when you least expect it. But maybe their purpose was never to vanish. Maybe their purpose was to guide you inward, to force you to face what you would rather escape. And in that confrontation, something shifts. The weight becomes wisdom. The shadow becomes part of the light. As Rumi once said, the wound is the place where the light enters you. It sounds poetic, but it's also practical. The very cracks we try to hide are often the paths where growth begins. Pain doesn't only mark you, it teaches you where your strength is born. When you stop running from the wound, you find that it has been carrying the lesson all along. What once felt like pure loss can become the opening that lets clarity in. What once made you weaker can be the very thing that sharpens your compassion, your patience, your depth. The thought doesn't disappear, but its meaning transforms. And in that transformation, you realize the wound was never just a scar. It was also an entry point, a hidden doorway to becoming more than you were before. So when the same files resurface in your secret archive, remember, you are not broken because you remember. You are alive because you remember. And the thoughts that never leave are not chains. They are doors. And behind them, hope waits.